Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Retireholics, coming at you live from the 2021 Wealth at Work in Nashville, Tennessee. What time did you make it to your hotel room last night, Chad?
It was sometime after 3.
Yeah.
Did you have breakfast today?
I made it to Brandon's hotel room first.
Did you have breakfast today?
Did not eat breakfast
I
today.
think eating pizza at 4 in the morning counts as breakfast.
That's true. That's true.
The boys got lost in the streets of Nashville last night.
Two of them might have taken a nap on the sidewalk for about 5 minutes in a very cuddled fashion.
Forgot
But
about
we're here.
that.
But we're here. It's been a great conference so far. Ross and his team is doing a great job. Lots of cool topics, lots of great speakers. Let's get right to it, though, Justin. Intro our guest.
What?
This is a reoccurring theme
We do this
for
every
you.
week, Justin.
You didn't tell me I had to write an intro.
I can
Wow.
feel his pulse climbing
Wow,
right now.
Danielle, I failed you. I'm so sorry.
And you're no longer my favorite. That's it.
Well,
no,
That's why you're taking on JD.
No, you gotta freestyle this,
You know what to
dude.
do
Come
out there
on.
at home. Rate Justin
Without-
on a
yeah.
scale of 0 to 10.
When I don't prep, I at least say something.
Today's
Could you at least say her
You can
name?
make stuff up.
I don't
just
even
make
know how
it
to
very
pronounce her name.
positive.
How do we pronounce? Actually, since we have her on the show, how do we pronounce her last name?
Well, it's phonetic because I'm Russian. So you pronounce every syllable. It's Moiseyev.
Yeah, that's
Moiseyev.
There you go.
Moiseyev.
See, that's why Chad's a smart
Daniella
Avenger.
Moiseyev is here today, a longtime Retireholics family member, many pastime chat bar champion. We are excited to have you here today.
It's a great
Five-time.
intro.
5-time, huh?
5.5, actually. I think I tied with Hackler once.
Now, you know the rules. This isn't your first rodeo, but we will be playing Acrosin starting now.
Is that
Mark?
is that a pun because we're in Nashville? Rodeo? Not your first rodeo?
No. Yeah.
No, I wasn't.
JD
thinking of
You're
rehearsed
it.
always
that
full
one
of
all
them
night.
puns.
We will be playing Acrosin. We will be playing Chat Bar Champion. So do your thing out there, and we'll vote for that at the end of the show. Let's go
Wait,
straight.
we're gonna vote for that?
Well, yeah, we can't see the chat
Yeah.
bar.
Well, we got to vote for someone. Justin
Okay.
will help us out.
So it'll be a
Well, we got 3
popularity
people in the
contest.
chat, including
Okay,
him right there.
won't be hard. Brandon, can we go to headlines? Headlines? Does that work? Justin's broken today, but
Justin can look at his computer and let us know what's happening.
maybe not.
This is off the rails right now.
Guys, let me explain something to everyone. This is just like we do this every week. There's nothing different here. I don't know why everyone's so caught off. Thank you. Headlines. All right, we got one headline. It's a dicey one.
It's a juicy one.
It's a juicy one.
I was wondering when that was
I
going
woke
to come
up
up.
Friday morning. I was in a hotel in Hollywood. I think y'all know that. I went to the concert after the show.
Where's this going?
Only
And,
one video.
I opened up the
Will Hackler
laptop.
was in your room.
I will open up the laptop,
That's juicy.
and there was an article written by Fred Barstein, RPA Convergence Investment News.
Wait.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
there
that's
we
just
go.
one, just one.
Wow, we didn't even go over that.
Oh.
And we're back with Malort. And
I could taste that through
the
your taste.
most of the article was about this concept of consolidation and us getting down to 5 or 4 record keepers and what that might mean for the industry. But about 3/4 of the way down, he had a sentence where he made some comments about the National Association of Plan
Good
Advisors.
job.
Well, it was not named.
They
It
did-
was
he-
an
true,
association.
true. And kind of some loose language around how maybe they might be in the back pocket of Wall Street, the record keepers, the money managers. Well, as I'm reading that one, it comes to my attention that
We have
the
hijinks in the audience.
American
Sorry.
Retirement Association or the National Association of Plan Advisors had a retort article. Is that the right word for that?
Yeah.
That was penned by or had the names
See, we
attached
didn't
to it
answer
of-
that
Yeah,
yet.
three
of 3
different
advisors.
people, yeah.
I'm not so certain they wrote that. It might have been someone else, but they came back and said, "Hey, look, this is not cool. Like, this is not the goal of NAPA is not to be in the back pocket of these
Why
financial
couldn't that have just
institutions."
been the article?
I did
It's
it
right
again.
there. This isn't cool.
Yeah,
and then you're
basically
just
said
done.
that.
Yeah.
I think Fred has gone back since, or today or yesterday, and kind of softened it a bunch
He
for
changed
them.
one word.
And I've talked to both entities. I've talked to NAPA. Dang
Oh
it.
man.
I've talked to
No,
people
that was
over there.
better check. X-wing, no.
Yeah, he was in.
as well as I've had a small chat with Fred, and I think they're back to loving each other a little bit. But if you haven't seen that, go check that out. It was very dramatic and fun on a Friday.
Let's chat a little bit, at least, about
dicey
the
chat.
validity of it.
Okay.
he supported the thoughts of this consolidation with years of research of other industries. Like, it's sound.
Nobody had an issue with that.
Would it be a good thing if the record-keeping community became a group of 3 that carried 90% of all assets?
I
or all
think that
plans?
sounds scary for a lot of reasons. I also want to be clear. The National Association of Plan Advisors had no disagreement about that. They weren't countering that. It was the comments made about them being in the pocket. So to answer your question, I think that sounds scary, especially about some of the subjects we're talking here today, where our record keepers are delivering financial planning, wellness, trying to monetize the participant. If you get down to 3 of them or 4 of them, then I think you're going to see that happening in a big, big way because they have control. They got basically
You're
monopoly.
going to see
of
it
all this
happening
stuff.
regardless.
Fair enough.
I think if we get down to a few, it will allow them, as they say in the article, with scale, become more effective at delivering what is going to be the next step in this industry, which is this convergence.
Let me ask you this.
What does it matter if it's down to 3 or 4? It can happen right now with how many there are. That doesn't.
Yeah, I
It's a
wonder-
power dynamic,
Yeah,
though.
how
If there's
many do
3
the
or
top
4
5
and a bunch of the
actually- what
advisors walk,
percentage? Yeah,
where are
that's
they
the
walking
curious.
to? One of those 3 or 4, right? Right now, there's a little bit more, fractions in the market, and if a few advisors walk, but if there's 3 or 4, like, they have
Things
more
happen.
power.
Right?
You're getting closer to a monopoly and the tendencies that you get with monopoly, even though there's still 3 competing. But let me ask you this, when you get to that point, don't markets always kind of correct themselves? Like, aren't you going to see small disruptors still come to the market, start to gain market share? Isn't it kind of a cyclical thing, or is that not true?
I think that's very true, but you saw he addressed that in the article, which is those groups will be acquired quickly.
Does that happen with airlines these days? Do you still see new upstart airlines?
I think
Not
that's
really.
Well, the barrier
There's
to
a
entry
lot.
there is so
Yeah.
high.
Fair enough.
Overhead.
But, I mean,
barrier
look
entry.
at, let's say, cell phone companies, right? I mean, we got
True.
3.
It's
Well,
not
and then
good.
the one that's like
You
the
lose-
prepaid, but
You definitely lose.
That's a good
You
example.
lose the benefits of competition, for sure. And I would even think you'd lose a bit of innovation and evolution of stuff. You've only got 3 versus
For sure.
18 or
Well,
20.
I think most of the evolution that's come and innovation that's come in our space in the last decade or 2 has come from these startup, funded, willing to take some risk companies. I mean, you're not seeing the big name record keepers create much innovation. They'll buy it, right?
yeah.
They'll go out and buy a new company that's coming up with something creative.
News alert, everyone. Have you ever seen Chad talk shit about the record keepers? That was like first time
Once.
ever. Let's go into some topics that our guest wanted to talk about.
Yay.
Wait, who's our guest, Justin? Yeah, remind us
Next
again.
time I'll send you a
Daniella
pre-done
Moiseyev.
intro.
She's a world-renowned
She's a Russian.
hot sauce maker.
That's
Ooh.
right. That is my claim to fame.
We'll have quiz of death
She
later
flew
today.
herself here on her private plane.
Yeah.
I invited her to be a guest on the show, and then in the interim, news bulletins come out. She's got a new gig, which I think is cool. So maybe we could talk a
She's
little bit
the
about
5th
that.
Retireholic. We can tell everybody now.
Sorry,
So you
Will.
guys definitely need to take the testosterone down a bit. You do need a woman
That's what I'm
retireholic.
for.
If you
Oh.
haven't
Help bring
heard
it way down.
if you haven't heard of Smart, they're a company out of the UK.
Does that stand for something?
It is
Oh.
Smart Pension UK.
But what is
The,
this?
no, it is
What
not
is-
an acronym.
Thank you.
Not
Well,
now.
it should be.
No?
And what do we call the
Power.
what do we call the pooled employer plans in the UK? UK's one, United Kingdom,
You're getting hit right
That was
now.
2 for you, by the way.
It's called a master trust.
and they have dominated in
They
that
have,
space.
indeed.
And now coming to the U.S.
But
with
But.
the United States with hundreds of millions, north of 200 million in investor money to tackle the pooled employer plan market.
Is that in-
What's
is
your
that in
role?
euros?
What's your role? When does it start?
Sure.
Are you excited?
I'm extremely
Most
excited. So I
excited.
start Wednesday. I go straight from this conference to my first day, which will largely
Nice.
involve getting technology and getting my email set up. So I think I'm going to make a huge impact on that first day.
Getting your email
Um,
set up takes days. I think.
Right? But I'm really excited about it. We are the subsidiary for the United States. We'll be here in Nashville, and it's a really, really
Yeah,
bright
that's a coincidence.
group of
Headquarters
people.
are in Nashville.
Yeah,
huh?
that was completely. I already booked the conference, and I just happened to say, I said, "Well, I'm
Sounds
going to be
dangerous.
in town.
Is
you
the
want me to come
CEO
over?"
here?
There you
Yeah,
go.
he is.
Oh, dang it, son of a bitch. Oh, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail you.
So really, really excited. The first step is as a pooled plan, provider. But I think we're looking at other ways in which to enter the market. Smart has a really amazing technology. So really it's a true fintech. It's not, in the mold of a record keeper. That may be some
All
of the
cloud-based
solutions. Yeah,
type
all
of deal.
cloud-based. We own the code, so it's all proprietary code. They are expanding globally, so it's really, really exciting. I'm going to be the head of marketing for the United States. Get to build a team, get to build the brand, get to build the positioning. I'm
Wow.
super thrilled,
Fancy.
super excited.
Do you need brand ambassadors?
I might need brand ambassadors. I don't know
Do you
what I
have a
need
patent?
yet.
What's smart?
I haven't
about it?
started.
just for the robe, yeah. Just not these guys.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
Well, I will tell you this. How everyone knows how anti-pooled employer plan I can be. But I did take note of this company, and I was really impressed. And I'm not just saying this because you were here. I honestly felt
He
this.
totally
No.
is.
They are going after the startup market.
Yeah.
And my complaint with a lot of the pooled employer plans is they're going after takeover business, right? They're
Right.
just trying to win assets. And the whole reason, I've said this before, is the government put this in place to help with the gap, right? The gap
Absolutely.
coverage. And that means startup plans.
Right.
And Smart wants to go after these startup plans, so kudos to them for that.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
really smart.
Daniela, do you think that they made the leap coming to the United States? That's check swing? Okay,
That-
good.
That's one of two letters. That's 50%. You take
Do you
Small
think they
step.
made the leap coming to the United States when the pooled employer plan world was solidified with legislation? Or do you
I
think they would
don't know
plan
that
to not
answer,
necessarily
right? But
solidify.
I think it's a good catalyst, right? So I think that there may have been stuff in the works ahead of the Secure Act, but
that counts.
that's,
Well, yeah.
oh, it
Yes,
is an
it
acronym.
does,
yeah.
Oh,
Oh my
news-
gosh, that is terrible.
I know. You don't
Well,
remember it?
first,
Oh,
yeah,
you weren't
you-
there.
I wasn't in Chicago.
You weren't in
that's
Chicago.
awesome.
Chad wasn't in
Oh.
Chicago. He just has first malort. Look at him.
Just wait till you're about
Yeah.
30 minutes into the
That
show.
is
and
like
here's
cough
some fair taste
medicine. It's
ones.
terrible.
And I just burped and it made me
Stays
want to
with you.
die.
Stays with you for a little bit. The kind of news releases I saw did say like, hey, secured setting up every cat for whatever. Was there inspiration to come to this market? But anyways,
Well, I think the parent company, Smart Pensions in the United Kingdom, has ambitions to be truly global, and you can't say you're a truly global retirement provider or retirement technology provider if you're not in the U.S. So I think it was the timing aligned, the stars aligned.
United
Oh
States.
God,
You're
Are
so
there-
welcome.
Are there United
Bad
Kingdom
person.
British people on the team here in Nashville?
Oh God, that's awful.
Don't drink too much.
Oh. Anyway, there are, so we'll be partnering very closely. There's a large marketing team in the United Kingdom that I'll have access to and be able to work with.
Do they brush their teeth?
They do,
Oh,
as far as I
wow.
know. I didn't
Wow.
ask, but I would guess so.
Jeez, where to
Isn't
stereotype?
that a
me.
UK?
There
or-
are
United Kingdom.
folks that are in the United
ball
Kingdom that
don't
are
lie.
working closely
Ball
with the
don't lie.
U.S. United States folks. And I'm not
Um,
drinking another one of those.
We'll give you a check swing
Okay.
on that one.
Very cool. We're excited for you. It'll be fun to see that play
Are
out.
we excited?
Yeah.
Are we really excited?
Yeah.
Are you
Totally.
excited?
No,
I
because I
am.
really thought that you would come join us, and now you didn't accept our offer, and you went elsewhere to make
Yeah.
tons of money and do real jobs.
Well, you had to give her
It's
more
kinda
than
upsetting.
$25. and
Well,
that's
it
already
was
full.
a
I had
very
my piggy
hard
bank, dude.
decision for me because, being the female retireholic was just the absolute top, the pinnacle
Yeah.
of my ideas of success. But
Right,
in the end,
Will you be
Okay.
traveling?
it was a very
lot?
compelling opportunity.
Will you be traveling a lot?
I'll be coming in here to Nashville probably every other week or so,
Oh, yeah.
which is going to be awesome. The office is super cool. It's like a warehouse conversion. It's really neat.
Hipster.
And then obviously, as needed, I'm sure I'll be on the conference circuit like I always have been. So
All right. Well, we'll keep our.
So you
finger on
won't
the
forget
pulse.
about us?
I won't
Is what
forget
you're
about
saying?
us. Well,
You're
maybe
big
those guys, but I
time.
won't forget about you.
Ouch.
I thought I was
Um,
your favorite.
Let's
Well, no, you
let's-
missed my
intro.
intro.
let's continue
You gotta
the
hang
drinking.
that over his head for a long
Let's
time.
spin the wheel of ice, but before we spin it, Danielle, you must
Yeah.
choose a Retireholic to be aligned with, and if they lose, you have to drink with them.
Oh, no. Oh, you guys
Yeah,
are
a
just
little-
really mean today.
I think
All
you're
right,
okay.
well, because I've already given Mark the love and I'm mad at Justin, it's going to be Chad.
All
Be
right.
aligned with Chad. And
This
Brandon's
game
feeling a
is
little-
not full of
trying
integrity,
to go
and in
wheel
all
of ice.
likelihood, we will lose.
The wheel of ice, the wheel of ice.
I can't get my voice that loud.
Serves him right. Serves him right for his Shitty
Oh, I'm trying to
intro.
get the
Double
taste
them
of
up.
that out of my
Double them
mouth.
up.
Oh.
That's where the
Are
beer
we,
comes
are we
into
doing,
play.
we're not doing froze, right?
It lingers for
Oh,
the next
here
like
comes the
6,
froze.
7 hours.
Yeah.
Here comes the froze.
Yeah,
Safe.
lucky.
You're safe. Good.
Oh.
I mean,
Do you need
Justin,
me to hold
your
that so you can get down
job
on your
is
knee?
to
'Cause you can
intro.
really
That's
do it.
what you
It's
do.
like single-handedly keeping Smirnoff Ice in business because
Pretty much.
that
Yes.
stuff is disgusting.
That's our biggest sponsor.
Pretty much. We drink one a week, so.
We're in their back pockets.
That's more than anybody else.
Good one. Let's dive into.
So, sorry about that. I won't buy Smirnoff Ice in public. I have to
Yeah.
order it to be
I'd be
delivered.
embarrassed too.
I get it. You,
It's no good.
and not just because your new role, you
Yes.
had an interest in this in
Mhm.
general. You wanted to talk about small business,
Yes.
the coverage gap. I think you even know some stats and stuff.
I brought
so
my cheat
why don't you
sheet.
refresh us? Like,
Yeah.
what's the status of small businesses and their lack of retirement
Sure.
plans?
So
Pocket beer.
if you think about the industry, right? We have not moved the needle in 40 years on coverage. Less than
It's moved a little.
a little bit, but less than 10% of businesses have retirement plans. There's about 500,000 retirement plans. There's about 5.5 million
What was
small
that?
businesses without a retirement plan.
What?
And we haven't changed that, right? And there's about 12,500 advisors in the industry who do any scale amount of retirement plan business.
12,500 advisors that
Mhm.
have some kind of sort of focus on
That have a
401k.
decent enough focus, right? So that's
How come we only get 10
282,000
to tune into our show? Sorry, keep going.
we have 282,000 wealth management advisors in this country
Right.
who might have a plan, 2 plans, whatever. And then we have these 5 to 6 million small businesses without plans, and that's 60 million savers that don't have access to a plan, and somebody of moderate income, $30,000 to $50,000 income,
But I
is
have a
12 times
mug.
more likely to save if they have access to a plan at work than they will on their own. So why are we all fighting over that same 500,000 plans in the country? Let's look at startups. Let's expand the coverage. I think that's what PEPs were built to do. That was
It's okay,
that
finish
was
your thought.
Congress's
You know
intent
what?
for
You
them.
know what?
You'll do
I
it for me.
absolutely
Thank
can.
you. But that was Congress's intent, right?
It was.
And when we talk about pooled employer plans within our industry, when you guys talk about it, we're talking about larger plans or medium plans and takeaway plans and converting existing plans to this new structure. And maybe that's not the best thing in the world.
Getting your
Who
audit
cares?
fee done.
Let's talk about the $6 million small businesses that don't have a plan. Let's get them a simple, basic solution. Let's get those workers saving. That's what the
Yep.
pooled employer plan is built for. It's not
Amen,
conversions.
Daniela. Amen.
Amen to getting those small businesses plans, or amen to pooled employer plans being
Amen to getting those people
Okay.
access to plans.
What has stopped us? Because we talked about
What
this
does it matter if
earlier.
you have access if no one uses it?
Well, that's
Ooh.
a
Well, that's what
personal
our enrollment's
decision.
about.
Now
Let
we're gonna
me-
go down the auto
so-
enroll.
I can
Look.
opt out of that.
Look,
Yeah, but so few do.
we
Use inertia for good, not for evil.
have worked in the micro space
Mm-hmm.
since the 70s. My father started the company. My entire family's business is built on helping small businesses start up plans.
Mm-hmm.
How many startup plans have you guys sold in the last year?
One.
Tons.
Tons.
One.
So they're doing something
Sure.
for the coverage gap. So
One.
I feel like there are solutions there,
Right.
and we're helping people do that. But the reason why the needle hasn't moved, as you put it, is because there's a lot of these companies that I think feel like they don't want to pay for something like that. They don't feel like they're big enough
Right.
to have that type of plan. They don't want the burden of running that plan,
Right.
and that's been our
Absolutely,
What
but
they do-
that's the solution that was put in place in 2019, that launched in 2020. The pooled employer plan creates this new fiduciary type that's supposed to take a lot of the risk from the small employer, and then the tax credits help offset the cost. And if Secure
You're talking about the
Those are-
2.0, you're talking about the
that's,
P3.
that doubles those credits.
You're lucky
yes.
that doesn't count, man.
But the point is, right now, as it exists today, the retirement plan is sold, not bought. Very
Yep.
few small business owners go
Agreed.
seek out an advisor and say, I want to start a
Right.
plan,
Right.
right? They might have an advisor, they might come across an advisor who
100%
talks
agreed.
them into doing the right thing for their employees. With the mandates coming online, whether there's a federal mandate or a state level one, I don't care, I don't know, would not put an over-under on what's going to happen in Congress. But the point is,
But we should.
we will have a private market solution when it's no longer sold but bought, when the advisor is the small business owner is looking They have
Because
to put
they're
a plan in
forced
place.
to.
Right.
Because they're
Right.
forced to.
And I think for those employers who are not paternalistic, who are doing it because they must, right? A solution that takes as much of the decision making and fiduciary risk off the table as possible is the right solution for that kind of business.
I might argue that, and I didn't come here to get in a debate with you.
That's what our show is
My
supposed
problem
to
with
be.
that is that if you're going to add those services, so here's the thing. So I call those 316 fiduciary services. And do you use 316 fiduciary services with your startup plans
No.
when you sell
No.
them? Why do you not do that?
Cost.
Because it's expensive, because it's an extra job, right? An extra thing to do. Do you do 338 fiduciary services with your startup plans?
Yeah,
Sometimes
sometimes.
because it's
Pretty often,
cheaper or
actually.
something. I think a lot of this support that you're talking about, taking everything off of their plate, is a premier level thing.
Not if you can put into market a scaled solution. And that's what some of these digital disruptors are going to be doing, right? And I think that's what the real change is. You can do it in a scaled way, you can do it in a cost-efficient way that brings a low-cost solution to market and doesn't have all the embedded costs that some of the traditional providers have.
On maybe a softer note with that, and you've said this a number of times, JD, is it right
I do.
that we're going to go out to that small market space and tell businesses that have chosen not to put in a plan for all these years, now you have to, and now you're going to put in something that you really have no ownership in?
You don't
and
have
how
to
you're
do
You
anything.
don't have to do anything. We're going to take all
Which
that
isn't
off.
really
Don't even
true.
worry about
You
talking
have
to your
things you
employees
need
about
to
this.
do.
Like, we'll take all that on. I think that we need to create more responsibility for those folks so that they feel some ownership in what they're doing for their employees and can have some skin in this game.
I also haven't
I think
seen.
we're preaching the wrong thing.
I haven't, and we're not talking about your future employer. We're just talking about in
No, it's-
general.
yeah.
And I haven't seen proposals from pooled employer plans that are giving any type of cost savings to anyone.
Either of
Not in a real apples to apples, because they're providing more service. Look, can we say something honestly? Is a pooled employer plan providing more services or less services than a standalone plan?
It depends on what kind of service, right?
In theory, when
Depends
you're
on the
if you
standalone
want
plan, too.
complicated plan design, then absolutely not.
Well, but
right?
that's
But that's
not-
not the right
but
solution
that's
for
not
many small
unique.
businesses.
Complicated plan design is not unique to a pooled employer plan or a standalone plan. We can do a safe harbor match in in a standalone plan, right? We can do simple eligibility
Sure,
in a standalone
absolutely.
plan. We can reduce costs in a standalone plan, and we do that. I also have an issue with this economies of scale thing. It's this whole point of like, oh, we're going to bring together $1 million, or in your case, it's startups and stuff,
Zero, yeah.
and therefore we're going to get them better pricing because we're pooling them all together. Record keepers have been bringing on new clients and gathering assets for decades. They already work on an economies of
Yep.
scale type of solution. And it's going to be no different for them to service those 500 plans individually versus in a pooled employer plan. Just
It will be for smart because
could
you're
be,
so
yeah.
heavy tech based.
Yeah, it's a
Sure,
technology. I
for
mean,
sure.
I think that the industry is ripe for some disruption, and I'm certainly by no means is Smart the only one that's thinking about this, right? But I think that if you look at some of the more established providers, those technologies were built on mainframes in the 70s. There's a lot of cost embedded in that.
Right, to
Right.
make-
So there's some opportunity, I think, to really do it differently.
that's the Aaron Schum Vestwell story too, right?
Mhm,
Like
right.
we've built this faster, more maneuverable boat versus your kind of big, slow moving, old school record keeper thing. I don't know what that looks like underneath the hood because that's not my life, but I'd love to see more of
Well,
them.
and I have not looked at Vestwell in great detail, but I have some advisor friends who have worked with them and they've been very pleased. So that's anecdotal, of course, but I wonder, if you look at the Vestwells, the Ubiquities, the Guideline, and talk to the advisors that are working with them compared to some of the more traditional providers
always
and
trip-
see what that experience looks like.
Always
I don't
trip
know,
that.
I
Yeah,
honestly.
I always trip that Ubiquity gets put into that. Ubiquity was started like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
They're a normal record keeper. They happen to call themselves the online 401k at the time, and now they're Ubiquity. They're no different than
Well, and they were the ones that just inked the deal with Principal, right?
they're no
Principal
different
Simply
than any
Retirement
normal
was all-
TPA that has their own record keeping. They didn't do any
Yeah, that's
disruption
great.
or anything.
Thank
like
you,
that.
thank you.
JD, I know you
How
want to
else?
move
Let's
on.
talk about the coverage gap a little more, though. Like, how
That's
can
what
we
I was
solve
just going to say. We need to keep in mind that everything that we are striving toward as an industry is going down the path that we should be going down. We need to bridge the gap for businesses that don't give access to a plan to their employees. You said it. What was it? 15 times more likely to participate?
12 times more likely someone with an income of between $30,000 and $50,000 a year, which is your fairly low income employee, 12 times more likely. The likelihood of them opening an IRA is like virtually zero.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And that's what we need to keep in mind as we continue to evolve and create new solutions.
Well, it's so bad.
It's
The
burns.
federal
Cactus.
mandate, and I know we've said
Cactus
this.
is way better.
I know we've said this over and over again. The show's hard to do when Hackler's laughing in the background.
Okay, does anyone else hear the,
I like his laugh a lot.
Zach Galifianakis laugh when he laughs?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of.
He's got that.
You gotta put it into firms.
Basically.
The federal mandate will move that needle massively.
Yes, it will.
We've seen the state
We've seen it
mandate
in
California. And by the
Oregon.
way, we're just getting warmed up in California because I really feel like it's
The
the
5.
next year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We go
Right.
5
2022.
or more employees by July 31st of
That's
next
gonna
year.
be pretty wild. There's gonna be
30th.
so many employers who are so far behind on that it's
gonna be a last
we're gonna
minute
ride this
scramble.
wave for 2 years, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Or
And
yeah,
look,
or
there are
big.
state mandates in some form of adoption across many, many states.
But-
so if the federal government doesn't move on it, the states are moving on it. So the mandates are here and they're coming. They're part of our future. I don't think they're necessarily a bad thing. I think
I
that
don't
as long
think
as a
they're a
private
bad thing
market
at all.
solution is offered alongside, I think that that's a really good option.
Hey, in my research of the FRED piece versus the National Association of Plan Advisors, I was reminded and it was brought to my attention that even like these state-run plans like in California, without the help of the American Retirement Association and all they do there, we might not have had those private options included in that. So they are going to bat for us. And I didn't get to finish that topic, but I do think that our national association and our advisor groups and our third-party administrator groups and everyone need to work together cohesively. And I am a fan of the American Retirement Association.
And I think
for
we
that.
have been, and I think they are.
And I can go on both sides of this. I'm also a fan of Fred for kind of trying to push the envelope, think outside the
you're
box.
tiptoeing right
and
now. Pick a
question
side,
something.
man.
I'm gonna go both sides. It's good. So the mandates will solve it, bro.
Yeah.
We just need the mandates.
We're
It's
seeing
not
it
the
in
pooled
California.
employer plan.
And then
Proud of
what
you,
were
think
the
we are.
numbers that were thrown around? I actually have them. It's what,
From
62
Graph.
million new retirement savers, 7 trillion in new assets.
7 trillion over the
That
next
is,
10 years.
That is just really, really good. And I know you guys have had on your show multiple comments about, crappy plans, this, that, the other. But a crappy plan is still better than no plan at all.
Ooh.
And frankly, I have issues with, a 3.
You don't
I
like that?
agree with that one.
I love that. I'm
No,
with you.
I mean,
I'm Team Daniela on
Think
this.
about this,
A
right?
crappy
Your
plan is
average
better than no
employee,
plan.
A moderate income is not going to
Tell
save.
the
Tell
Enron
them,
folks
man.
that that's the case.
Tell who?
Well, there's
Enron
some-
folks that that's the truth.
I'm not, but I mean, these are not going to be public companies. These are going to be closely
Okay,
held.
how about
small
a
family-
crappy plan that isn't like stealing and doing
Right.
wrong?
That's a
But
little
without-
better.
Yeah,
but
I can go down there
a
now.
not
Yeah.
great plan design is still better,
Right,
and still
like-
going to have more people saving
You're
than
failing
nothing at all.
your
Fair.
average
Aaron wants
deferral
us to
percentage
define crappy
test,
plan.
but
Yeah.
it's still there.
Yeah.
You can still save.
See, I taught you
Aaron
so
Hall
well.
wants us
You
to
even
define
say
crappy
average
plan.
deferral.
I-
And
I-
have you
Radical.
guys ever
We'll get there.
listened to the
Love it.
call centers? So when I worked at a large provider, my office, I had the call center folks kind of right outside my office, and I could hear some of the micro tragedies. People calling in to take a $300 loan because they needed tires for their car. I mean,
Hey, we used to have
We-
people
we-
show up to the office
right.
to get their distribution check.
Yeah.
Can you
Really?
not
Yeah.
tell people what I've done?
And I think, we travel in certain circles and we interact with, advisors and other people in the industry, and we interact with the owner of the business. But, the great swath of the American population does no savings. Nothing. And again, I will continue to say it. A crappy plan is better than no plan at all, because at
And
least they can get them to save.
Aaron wanted us to define crappy plan, and so to Chad's point, I think what Daniela means is when you have a plan there, it's maybe not the best.
Exactly.
Maybe only 20% are participating. Maybe it fails its
You
testing.
did it. You got it. You
I
did
would
it. Check it.
That's
say
fine. A crappy plan is not
You're
defined
paying
as
800
someone
basis
where
points
the
in fees,
owner
it's
steals
fine.
all the money
No,
from the
yes, I
plan
don't
and
mean
leaves to
malfeasance,
wherever,
that's
because
for
that would
sure.
do anyone any
Yes,
good.
yes.
And I think one would argue access to a plan, which is what I had said earlier, I think is the crucial step for us, right? And
Yes.
so is it fair to say, for you guys that have been deep in this in California, that the state-run plan is better than no plan at all?
I would say so.
I think that's a fair statement.
100%.
100%.
I'm excited to see the state-run plan fail in some areas because there still is responsibility on the employer
Oh, yeah.
to do a lot of things. And this can happen on a national level
Sure.
too if this happens. They're going to make mistakes and things are going to get messed up. And then they're going to decide, oh, we need someone to help us do this the right way.
Right.
Well,
Absolutely.
It'll
and
be incubator.
remember, I was doing a bunch of education, speaking engagements on CalSavers.
Yeah, you were like partnering with them.
I
weren't you,
did.
too?
Well, I spent time with them, learned. I sat in on their education meetings for new businesses that were coming on, how they were onboarding.
Can you get her on the show, that chick that you...
Katie?
Yeah.
Probably.
We should do that.
You know who
Probably.
you guys should have
But
on is Lisa Messina. Do you
we've
guys
had
know her?
Lisa on.
We
Oh,
did
she's
do a show with
fabulous.
her.
Yeah.
But the point being, they made it very clear, JD, on the screen in the education meeting with these business owners that they are not a fiduciary in the CalSavers plan.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, I get it. Maybe by our legal definition under ERISA, you're not a fiduciary. Damn. But what's the first thing that's going to happen that's going to create litigation? It's going to be when someone fails to put in contributions or withholds the wrong amount. And who do they think is going to be held responsible for that? It's going to be the business.
And so you're saying because it's not under those rules that you just screwed up, that in a sense the employer wouldn't have responsibility, but that's not true because they're still an employer.
They are not a fiduciary, they have responsibility.
I have a responsibility to get you your paycheck. I have a responsibility to not grab
Will
you
you
in the
ever
butt,
do
right?
that? If you
To not
just-
grab you in the butt. So I have
And
liabilities.
you've done that too.
If I don't get your CalSavers deposit in, regardless of fiduciary
we have
definition or
CalSavers
whatever,
now?
I know it.
I have a problem and I have an issue.
I know it.
Same way if I sexually assault
But that
my
is
guy.
not what they're preaching, JD. That is not what is
I
being
did not sign up
preached.
for that.
Only if you bring it
You
to
were a
light.
witness to that.
Yeah.
Right? You,
So-
will you testify?
Are we going to find like JD's John Gruden emails or something?
Oh, I've got so many
And
of them hidden away.
here.
Trust
Hey, we're
me.
up to a couple more
They're,
now.
they're all directed at me. though.
Can't even see.
All right, it's been a
You can't
while
see who's in
Who's
there.
chat?
since we've done
We
this,
have been on the couch that long.
but we're gonna do the quiz of death.
You can do that
So-
now. So if I fail, I have to go through the
Oh, you
rest
wanna
of
wait
the
till
show.
the end of the
after
Can
you,
we
show?
show the hot
We've
sauce?
only got 30 minutes left. It's okay.
I think the audience would like to see you suffer through the end of the
Can
show.
I tell the hot
Yeah,
sauce story though? Why the hot
Absolutely.
sauce?
Absolutely. But so I want to get down first. Quiz of death. Thank you, Brandon. I just want to remind everyone because it's been a while. I mean, this used to be a thing for Chad. He's done hot sauce, by the way, on a stage before. Almost
done
threw up
this
on
hot
the
sauce.
audience.
And almost threw up.
He's done his hand in mouse traps. He's been whipped with a wet towel,
Been tased,
Yep.
tased,
shot.
God.
shocked.
Yep.
We
Have you seen him
tore
yet?
tore hair from his
No,
body.
Not yet.
I'm no
So
lawyer.
it's nice to have the quiz of death back.
Perfect.
And the way that works is I'll ask him a question. If he gets it right, we hurt him. If he doesn't, he's safe.
Wait, if I get it right, you hurt me?
If you get it wrong, we hurt you.
Okay, thank you.
Reverse incentive.
But tell us,
Yes.
what do we have?
So this is hot sauce that I made, and for those of you that know me, I am the most not domestic person. I don't cook. I don't grocery shop. I don't meal plan. That's just not my
make
thing.
hot sauce.
My husband just wants me out of the kitchen. But I grew Scotch bonnet peppers this year as a pandemic hobby, and I harvested them, and I had like 200 Scotch bonnet peppers. I said, what
I've
the hell do
never
I do
heard
with
the
these?
term Scotch bonnet before
They
in
are
my
hot
life.
Caribbean peppers that are 10 times hotter than habaneros. They're really red ones,
What the
so I
hell
drew
are we
them on
doing
here.
here?
And I cooked this. I made it myself. I made like 12 bottles of this. I brought this for you guys. So this is very hot, but it's also really
Did you wear a
tasty.
hazmat suit? when
I
you
was gonna
did
say,
that?
what are you
Oh,
doing with this? You
so-
putting it on like a
Yeah, it looked like
burrito
you-
or
I
something?
mean, a couple of drops in like a big pot of like rice or red beans is delicious. A little bit
Couple
on your
of drops,
taco.
dude.
Couple of drops. Don't go crazy. I
Check
mean,
out that Scoville rating right
Oh,
there.
Hey, where,
Scoville
where's
rating,
the
100,000,
pepper compared to
350?
that? Is
yeah,
that
I
pepper
think, I
Reaper?
think
It sounds,
pepper
it sounds
powder,
pretty
maybe.
gnarly. The last time Chad did this, he actually had to take about like half a shot glass of
Yeah.
the hottest
Yo.
hot sauce at Buffalo Wild Wings, and you were hurting. I
It's a ghost
honestly
pepper.
did have a moment where I was like,
What?
That's a
I
ghost
could be in
pepper.
trouble, like liability wise.
So
Like,
what is this hotter than the ghost pepper?
No, this is
Yeah.
about a third of
million
it.
Scoville.
Okay, yeah. So it's
I
So it's not
thought
even the
I was
worst,
splashing
dude.
the front
Yeah.
row. So just know I'm not going
Oh.
here if it
No,
happens.
this is
I'm
not
coming
that.
out
This is
there.
actually
okay, so let's,
It's just hot.
let's clarify the rules.
Yeah.
I believe this should be just like a little drop
We need a spoon or
on
something.
your pinky or
Okay.
something,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Use
But
one of those little finger things.
Chad, you have a chance to get this right. Okay?
Even
I'm
if you
rooting for
don't
you,
do
Chad.
it, you gotta.
I mean,
Really?
Can I
It's
smell
really
it?
tasty.
Huh?
It actually is really
Never
tasty.
set it up for him to get it right.
We haven't,
It
I
does
know,
smell
but I'm
good.
giving him a chance to get it right.
Take it home, put it on tacos. I mean, it's gross.
Okay.
I had a chance to
Chad?
get it right.
The quiz of
In
death
Oregon.
question.
Okay.
That's really
In what year was
PDC founded.
Advisor 2X founded, the host of this very conference we're at here in Nashville?
Oh, I think I know the answer to that.
Ross is right there.
You can't
Young
phone a
man.
friend.
Young, he's
Ross.
looking fit. Practice was
Cannot phone a
created.
friend.
Then he decided to start this. It's been running. I'm gonna say 2014.
No.
Oh,
2010.
that's what I was doing.
11 years. I was
That's what you get.
2010. Okay. Yeah. A little bit on
Just
that.
a tiny bit.
And
I
Justin
don't
had
wanna
it
make
up on
you
his
throw up.
computer too. If I just
Did everybody see how
cheated.
cute the label is?
Just do one of these, hold it, and just a little boop.
Yeah,
Let me
that's
see.
good.
Let me see.
Whoa,
No.
that's too much. That's too
No,
much.
too much. Don't do it, Chad.
I'm just gonna
Give a
lick,
napkin.
I'm just gonna lick the little bit
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Does
Let's
it
let
taste
that
good?
settle.
It's good.
It does taste good.
The whole finger.
I'm fine right now, but it's starting to go.
It just catch up.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now it's on the roof of my mouth.
Oh, you're turning a little pink.
We did this once.
Do we have a napkin?
It's making its way
here.
down
We
into my
did a
chest a little
conference.
bit.
Cuties, you want my water?
We did an onstage conference at the.
There goes. It's going now.
Okay. We did an onstage conference with Nevin Adams, and they didn't want us drinking hard alcohol.
Mhm, I was
So
there
we
for that.
did hot wings, and remember when Nevin couldn't talk, like his mouth was
Yeah.
on?
Kind of like Chad right now.
I'm getting there.
Okay. Okay, check this out.
Wipe it off your
This
finger.
is
Make it
another-
uncomfortable.
With-
napkin.
Justin's
something.
pants?
Hackler. Napkin.
This is
Thank
another
you.
subject.
That's fine.
It's got his snot on it. This is another subject that Daniella wanted to talk
Yes.
about, and I've got some context here. So, my father starts a third-party administration firm in 1975. I take it over many years, decades later. When looking at the communications that we send to our clients, as an example, you fail your discrimination testing. And we send you this letter. I mean, these days it's an email, but back then it's a letter. And it's got all
Memo.
this fancy language in it. It's referencing Internal Revenue Service code. It's talking
good
about
stuff.
excise taxes and deadlines, and really written like an attorney, you know? And so you read it as a client, and not only are you confused, you're scared, you don't understand it. You have an issue with this.
I do.
And by the way, we made a lot of changes around that,
Yeah.
not to promo our own company here, but it worked really hard. We called it Easy Speak. You're a fan of this too.
I do. I
or
love your
you're an-
website,
You're
actually.
an anti-fan of industry lingo.
Yes. So, I'm going to be blunt. We talk to small business owners and participants like they're idiots and we're the smartest things in sliced bread, and it's
Because that was a
obnoxious.
selling technique
It's
for
obnoxious.
years,
So
unfortunately.
I actually brought a visual aid.
Yes.
The provider will remain nameless, but
Visual
this
aids
is
are allowed.
an actual provider email that goes to a participant.
Ooh, can we guess who the provider is?
No, and don't
Dang
say it. But
Can you see it?
this
Mark?
is the email that goes right after they've enrolled in a plan. So this is their
Okay.
first communication after the
This
enrollment.
is exciting. You're going to read this first. I like this.
Dear first name, last name,
Mark,
you
call
have been
me.
enrolled in plan. This is to confirm that this has been initiated for your account. If you or someone to whom you gave permission to act on your behalf authorize this transaction, there's nothing else you need to do. Please note that the transaction requested as submitted may not be processed for a variety of reasons, including, among other reasons, submissions after an established trade cutoff or other timing restrictions,
hell are you even
restrictions
saying?
imposed by a mutual fund family, investment manager, custodian, or their agents, and accordingly is important here, execution of this request is not guaranteed. To confirm the details and
Is this normal
execution of
font
your
size or
request,
just fine print?
please log into your account. That is the participant's first
Wow, they're so
communication.
excited now.
Isn't it all the
Right?
ones
Huh.
and
So
fuzzies?
why do we insist on talking to participants this way? And this is one egregious example. I just
Because
opened a
lawyers love
solo
it.
K for my consulting business, and I won't
Freight
say which
boss.
Is it-
provider, but the stuff I got, I had to read it 3 times.
Is-
And I'm in the industry.
it-
Why are we like this?
It doesn't sound like this is the case, but I want to throw this out there. Is this because of liability? Like,
CYA,
is this written at?
Yeah.
Is this written as a
but
as
you
a
can
cover your ass
cover
kind of
drink.
thing?
I would
your
almost
rear
rather
end
drink that
without
than
sounding
this.
like a tool.
Yeah,
You could just take all that,
Put it at the bottom.
Well, no, and then just rewrite it like normal.
Well, so I did
You know,
rewrite
like-
this one, right?
It's
So
even worse after the hot sauce.
Oh, you're gonna show us your
this is my
expert, your skill
dear,
set. Okay.
dear first name, last name. Congratulations.
No, take the
you
D-
are
take the
well
D
on
route.
your way to a
So
bright
what's up?
savings future by enrolling in the plan name. As you already know, your retirement account has many benefits, such as contributions deducted from your paycheck automatically and conveniently. If you change jobs, you can take your contributions with you. Thanks to the power of compounding, you can make money on your money.
Unless
And
you
you can
pick
choose
shitty
from a
investments.
diverse array of investment options. You can be confident in knowing that you made a great decision. This email is to confirm that you've now enrolled in your retirement plan account.
Solid.
The lawyer's
Marketing
not gonna like
person.
that money. I still don't understand.
Yeah,
But marketing,
can't make that
you know,
statement.
I think our industry is, careful. We have a lot of regulations we have to adhere to. There's a lot of lawyers at every provider who look over this stuff and then add a bunch of stupid words like accordingly and
Yeah.
whereas.
But who writes it? Because it's not a marketing
lot of times
person.
It's the lawyers, and then the marketing
Exactly,
person
that's
gets
the
it, and
issue.
they get told by the lawyer that, oh, you can't change that. It's got to have the whereases.
And who writes
the-
all the sales
It-
material?
It's gotta have
The
the
marketing
lawyers
team.
as
The
is.
marketing team.
Which is why that side of it looks
Accordingly-
attractive to a
accordingly-
client, but the internal
What?
is not.
You
Accordingly.
really don't like that word.
Well, do you ever talk to someone and say, well, Chad, accordingly?
Yeah, he said it all the time.
Sure as shit
All
I do.
the time.
Yes, I
Chad's
do.
really not the best person
No.
for this
And the
conversation.
point is, our
probably read
industry
it.
is people with incredibly bright, well-educated people who want to do the right thing. And everyone that I've met in my 20 plus years in this business has been really, really smart. But we don't need to shove it down people's throats that we're smarter than
I
they
definitely,
are, right?
this is kind of a stretch
That doesn't
analogy.
sound smart.
But I was doing some research recently on like website design, and I was looking at I'm going to give a benefit to all these companies I kind of hate.
You're calling this research, by the way?
I was looking at like the guidelines,
Mhm.
even the freaking what's Captain 401 now, human interest, Betterment, these companies and their 401k solution. And if you go to their websites, it's so simple.
So much better. It
There's
is.
literally like 8 words, like affordable, easy, fast. This is like, and then you go to the big firms, and
Yeah.
it's littered with text.
Well,
Someone threw up on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the stuff he
like I
likes.
said, I opened my solo K a few weeks ago for my consulting business. I literally have a file, it's my solo K file, that's about this high. I mean, we killed an entire tree to send me stuff I couldn't even understand, and I'm in this business. So, I called my advisor. I'm like, what the hell are they asking for here?
So-
Like,
So the takeaway from this, because obviously at this stage we're not going to change the record keeping community and some of these
the record keeping
communications.
community should
They
want
They
to
can evolve.
change.
I'm just saying
Yes.
we're not. But for the people listening in, we certainly can encourage the advisor community to step in and translate some of this shit.
Yes. Well, but honestly, though, the providers need to understand, and I speak to all of us here, right, myself included, is we can't talk this way to normal people. We have to do better.
We shouldn't,
can
but
do
we've done it
better.
for
Let me
40
ask
years.
you this. Because we live, breathe, and sleep this
Mhm.
and are obsessed with it,
Mhm.
do we make these same mistakes in like fiduciary review meetings with our
Absolutely.
own words? Like us.
Absolutely.
Because it's second nature to us to talk about
Yeah.
a fiduciary process or a methodology or qualitative and quantitative.
Sometimes
or-
I catch myself even using the term deferral and realize
What's
that
a
the person
deferral,
I'm speaking
right?
to
How
has
about-
no
how about
idea.
plan
what a deferral
sponsor.
I'll give you guys
if I,
a
if
little
I myself
tip.
calling people plan sponsor, I'm like, call an employer.
Tiny trick. My husband is a very brilliant, wonderful, smart man. He's got a master's degree in education. He's a teacher. He's my touchdown. Anything I write for any company that I'm working with or a consulting client, I would call him in and I'm like, I'm going to read something to you. And if he says, huh?
He probably
I
loves
rewrite
that.
it, right? So, I mean, all of us have either spouses or friends who are not in the industry. Use them. Read your stuff to them. Practice your pitch. If you're saying deferral, they're going to be like, what's a deferral?
To go back to the question you asked a little bit ago, the reason this exists is because, especially in our community, the third-party administrator community, we sold on complexity for years.
Yes.
It was built on understanding the tax code and talking with jargon.
Right.
My
and
dad
making
wanted
sure-
it to be
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, and that's what sold then. People
That's why you
went,
could
oh,
charge
I
more."
need to hire that person.
Right.
More
That's
complicated it
not
was, the
the
more
way
you
it's
can
going
charge,
now.
right?
It's not the way it should be.
No, and it's wrong. I mean, you can be the smartest person in the room, and many of you are when you go to these meetings.
Thank
But
you.
you don't
Thank
need
you.
to make sure that everyone else in that room knows you're the smartest person in the room. That's just obnoxious,
Yeah.
right?
Well, who was it? Was
Damn
it
it.
you last night, JD, that said a comedian is being paid to come into large corporate companies and do likable training for their sales team?
No. that's
Someone had
else.
said that last night when we were
Chad
talking
was
about.
wasted last night. He's making up things. I sent
That
him.
was you, Mark.
That was me.
Mark said it.
I have found though, I've been sitting in on a lot of fiduciary review meetings with our advisors and some of our larger clients, and I have evolved.
How about we change the name of those meetings?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've evolved into a weird role, whereas the advisor's doing the fund review, and I've found now that my job is to insert jokes from time to time and make everyone laugh on the
You're
Zoom.
Mark.
Right.
Yeah,
You're a road
I
guy.
play Mark in the
Wow.
what do they call the fiduciary review meetings?
You know, I've been slagging on the providers and the record keepers, but frankly, the DCIOs are just as bad. That's my background. I spent 10 years and 12 years in DCIO land. And
That's two.
Oh,
That's two.
God.
And I am
I'll
not taking
I'll
one
do
for you.
one for you.
Oh, Mark, you're
the
right.
Malort is so bad. If you haven't had
so
it, try
bad.
What is that stuff? Like $2.99 a
It's
bottle?
apparently
How
it's
are
a
they in
Chicago.
business?
It's a Chicago
Oh.
thing. We learned about it when we were doing a show in Chicago,
what?
and we decided to take
please.
it with us now because it's so gross.
That is the nastiest thing I think I've ever had.
Samara has a beer for you, Mark.
What?
So
oh,
Don't
gross.
you?
Oh.
Yep. Smart
And it just keeps coming.
Oh.
To wrap that subject.
Oh, look at that.
To wrap
Can
that
you
subject.
hand me my pocket,
yeah,
please?
of course I can.
That's coming out of
Mark?
not my pocket.
Aw.
But you can
Thanks,
put it in your
Samara.
pocket and then pull it out.
Okay, hold on.
It's a little
Wait
tiny
for
baby
dramatic
beer.
effect. Hold on.
Oh,
Wait.
sorry. Okay.
Okay, go on.
No, go please.
No, go on.
Um,
Okay, wait.
yeah,
Pocket beer.
Pocket beer.
Brought to you by Pocket Beer. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry.
In all jokes, I think the surfer in me at one of those you're gonna call fiduciary review meetings just lunch now or a meeting
Yeah, a happy hour.
does try to talk in like surfer terms. So, and I think I can get away with that because of this.
Don't do it.
And I do think that the employers, the plan sponsors, the decision makers really appreciate
Right.
Oh,
me breaking it
absolutely.
down in kind of just like dummy language instead of talking like a fancy financial
Yep.
advisor in a
Right.
suit. And so I think that's the takeaway is if you're out there, you need to think about how you do that and could you do it in a more friendly
Right.
way where people get it.
The,
And they'll
the
like you for
takeaway
it.
is what? We should all just be a bunch of dummies.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
All right.
No,
Kind of.
find a better
I've been
way to
trying to do that for
communicate.
years on the
Kind of.
show, and you
Right.
guys are now catching up.
Remember
They
the
love that.
Invesco study, the new word order? You guys all know how much I loved that, where they said what words actually resonate with people. Like that was
Invesco does a
solid.
nice job with that. Yeah.
Invesco plug. They make the
Plug,
best
plug.
Pro V1s.
I mean, yeah, I was
I
gonna
lose
say,
them so
you're
fast,
so
though.
good at that.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
would you like to intro our guest?
No, outro.
Outro our
Hey,
guest.
hey, no, new Justin thing. You have to now, because you do intro, you got to give the highlights from the show. So now go, three highlights.
I like it.
Chad's
highlights from the
Nuggets,
show. Me
Chad's
forgetting the
Nuggets,
intro.
Justin version.
One.
One.
What'd you say?
Me forgetting the intro.
Shame on you.
That was a nugget.
That's a nugget.
Your pocket beer.
That doesn't count.
And Chad's hot sauce. Or Daniella's hot sauce. Chad's.
That's a wow. All
Was
the
it that?
valuable content we brought out of that. You took those three things away.
Well, he was taking it
We
to
need a
heart
chat bar
that we don't
update.
need to sound smart.
I sure as hell wasn't going to add Pepsi to
Justin,
that.
can you
Say
give
what?
us?
Oh, you're
Say what?
welcome.
Oh, you were so
He's
close.
almost made it through a whole
I think
episode.
you should drink more for forgetting my intro too. I mean, like maybe that whole glass.
Hey, can you come back tomorrow? And, oh my God.
Ooh,
it's
hey,
terrible.
Is it terrible?
hey, one drop of hot sauce and shoot the whole thing.
Oh no.
Okay,
You might die.
That's just mean.
banter. We'll wait a second for Chad, our champion. Chad, honestly, I did a thing with Brad Aarons from IntelliSense today. We tried to talk about the monetization of the participant.
You guys lost control of that
we
room. But by the way,
Okay, good.
Can I
great,
give a little review of that?
Yes,
as a
please.
person
That's what I was
sitting
going
down, if I didn't know who you were, who Brad was, when I turned around and I saw people standing and lining the back, I'm like, I can guarantee you no other session had that effect. So you guys
That's a
pulled
good
in the
Wills
people.
did. Wills,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely did.
There's
Wills
no
did.
chance.
Sherry's did.
Sherry doesn't
Sherry's
count.
did.
You weren't at
the
the same time. Yeah, you were.
I'm trying to
Sherry's
do
a rock
other
star.
two, but like questions is fine. Like, hey, you should have like had a little more of an agenda or like set the tone. Like, hey, we'll
You're
open
being
it up for
schooled.
questions. And you just let Itzo take over. Like it was his presentation, man.
Your comment back
No.
about you can read it in his next book,
Yeah.
was good.
That was
But that did not stop him.
It was funny sitting next to him. Anytime you
You
tried
needed
to
to
interrupt him,
rein
he
that
would
in,
dial
man.
it up a couple octaves.
First of all, it wasn't just Itzo.
Okay, but are you asking for a Justin room rating of your intro? You're like 1 to 10. Do you want us to rate you 1 to 10?
No, I want to know what you guys thought
I
about.
know, rate 1 to 10.
the
Justin's
president.
first.
What are we talking about?
Yeah. So, yeah.
JD, to
Move
answer your
on, JD.
question,
Thanks.
it was a good session.
You don't
Yeah,
have
it
to
was a
say
good
it.
session.
You and I
No.
have had that conversation so many times, though. I was
Yeah.
looking for
On your
something
phone.
more, and I felt like
he was on.
Brad was
on Instagram.
holding it in. Like
But
he
Brad
didn't quite.
brings details to it that
For sure.
I haven't talked about before.
I
Like,
will say though, I do wish you like, as a person sitting there, you had one thing up on the screen the whole time, just one, the
we
whole
didn't
time.
have any slides.
You could have at least changed it to like a picture
It's
or
a
something
wrote
like
the whole
keep me
thing down.
entertained.
Yeah, it's a wrote.
Every the whole.
He
graphic
drew
down,
that
all
instead of
the-
taking
all
a
the-
picture.
yeah.
He wrote it all.
It's in
down.
the app. You can just download it.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about. with
You know
that.
your graphic that was on the screen?
Yes.
It wasn't
It
his,
still
bro.
wrote that on a notepad, like verbatim.
Well, why do people do that? It's in the app. You can just download it.
But it was a good session.
It's
JD.
It was a good
interesting.
session. It
It's-
was.
I think he's in a unique position with IntelliSense, and they're kind of all in commitment to this convergence. To see him apply like a monetary value to the participant, which by the way he had done long before we were going to have this presentation, is really, really interesting.
That was super insightful.
And I think it opens up your eyes to how to run a business, how to potentially make it more profitable or more successful by offering additional channels of business, but by also doing more for people.
Well, and for years, we've kind of preached to advisors that if you get into the 401k space when you have not already been in it, this is another line of revenue. You're monetizing your client. He was really able to show that regardless of whether you're on the benefit side or you're on the 401k side, it's the full suite. That's where we're going. That's where everybody should be going. And that will allow us a great deal of flexibility as an industry if we can create better income, better revenue from each
And
participant.
why do we talk about selling ancillary business as if it's a terrible thing?
Yeah.
Right? You can wear
'Cause
the
it
white
feels
hat. You
dirty.
can do the right thing for the participant.
This is you.
Right? I mean, if it's a moderate income person, you know, they're not going to get the time of day for a traditional wealth management advisor, but they need insurance, they need life insurance, they need
Nah.
debt management, they need various things. If you're selling the right things, you know, you deserve to be paid to do that. And selling is not a bad thing as long as you're motivated by doing the right
So
thing
that's
for the person.
where I said the exact same statement 2 months ago, 3 months ago to JD, and he immediately responded back, which was right. That's if people are selling the right things.
Well, of course, but are there bad actors in any profession? I
The
mean,
question is, are we going to try to leverage data so much that we don't actually know what the participant wants? We just think we know.
We talked
what
about
they
this a
need,
little
yeah.
bit last week. I think we're even more worried that we'll influence and convince participants to buy things they
That
don't
they may
need.
not need.
Yeah.
Just through pretty colors and pretty buttons to click on and
Yeah,
telling
that's
them things
fair.
that are vague and maybe
well,
not
welcome
true.
to the world of social media. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what
No,
Facebook
just
does. That's
welcome
what
to
everybody
real
does,
life.
right?
Yeah.
That is the
Very
world.
You
different
do have
sides
to
of
be
that
a smart
spectrum.
consumer.
Yeah, no, I like hearing from him. What he opened my eyes to this concept, this Bright Plan. I hope
Yeah, I've
I'm
never
getting-
heard of them before.
I hope I'm getting
Yeah.
that name right. Run by this dude from Cisco, and I think if you haven't seen out there, this is another here goes my conspiracy hat thing again. Okay, there are third-party, independent companies now being built to offer financial planning and/or wellness to plan sponsors and their participants that have nothing to do with you as an advisor, nothing to do with the record keeper, and they've got tons of money behind them. They're well funded, and they're going to be knocking on the doors of what I consider to be your clients, offering them this service. Maybe some of you out there feel like, okay, so what? I don't offer wellness. Fine, they can have something like that. Others of you, I think, would be pretty pissed off to think that someone could literally solicit your client for something so close to home for what you offer.
Well, that's it's close to home, right? It's something that we believe the community should be offering. And if you're not offering it, you need to. And if you're not going to, then yeah, it's going to be solicited from an outside company or your record keeper.
Seems to be a big topic around here. So I know you guys have heard it over and over and over again, but this convergence thing is real. Big money's going into it. Companies are working very hard at different types. There's all kinds of different variations on this convergence, on what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. But here from Nashville, I can tell you it's happening, it's legit, and so you should be thinking about it and coming up with some type of strategic plans.
Yeah.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
chat bar champion. How's it been going in there?
You know, we got a couple of the usuals. We got Webby, we got Crystal, we
Hey,
got
Webby.
DK, we got
So we're giving the win
Wait,
to
why was
Crystal.
my name in there? Who's talking crap?
Justin,
yes, sir.
because you did such a phenomenal, you get to vote for chat bar champion.
All the pressure's
All
on
on
you.
you.
Ooh.
Who's it going to be?
Does Hackler get double points since
Actually,
he was
there's a
chatting
few
here
minutes.
and there?
Anyone in the chat bar, you can last minute tell Justin how shiny
Hey,
his head
Justin,
is
do this
or
right
how
thing.
much you like him, and he'll vote for you.
Oh, I think I am changing
Yeah.
my opinion. You are going to be my favorite retireholic.
It's
Our
so
sorry,
shiny.
Justin, you're out.
Everybody's.
It's okay. I
Danielle,
was never really-
Everybody's favorite retireholic.
I don't know. I
It's
mean,
not true.
Everyone
That's a tough
rate
decision.
Justin on a 0 to 10 on
We
his
got
ability
Webby
to.
saying Justin's best dressed. We got DK saying,
what
Justin,
about
have
me?
you
I'm
lost
best
weight?
dressed. I'm wearing a
Justin
Retireholic
is the
shirt.
best
Come on.
dressed.
That's just what they're saying.
It's got white shoes,
All
no
right,
socks.
pick a
Yeah.
champion.
You
I'm gonna
hurry
go-
up.
Because she was the first one in, I'm going Crystal Benson.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Good
that
job,
Crystal's?
Crystal.
Congratulations,
Is that her
Yeah.
first
Crystal.
win?
Huh?
Is that her first win?
No, she's won before.
I think she's one.
I think she's had one
Chris-
other.
Crystal,
It
you
is-
won?
Crystal, in the chat bar,
First
let us
time.
know.
Oh,
First time.
timesies.
Oh,
Let us know
yay.
what
Chasing
mug
the champs
you would
down.
like. And then
If you don't
this
choose
sounds
Justin, I'm
creepy,
changing
but
my vote.
DM me your address. And we will get that. We'll literally do that today before we leave here. Daniella, thank you so much for joining us.
Congrats on the
here
new-
on
new
the
job.
couch.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that we disrespected you with a horrible intro from Justin.
And just know
Yeah.
that
I'm going
when
to
we
expect
Your
you to
intro
do
was
an
great.
intro
Well,
tomorrow.
that's what I was going to say.
and
Will
then
you
ahead
come
of-
back by tomorrow just for a brief moment so I can
Yeah,
do the
you
intro?
could.
Maybe.
We can make
And
it
when we
I
finish
only
the
have
show-
one-
Okay,
no, I
good
only
side.
have one Retireholic shirt.
That's fine. We got
when we
plenty
finish
more.
the show,
Yeah,
the
we gotta
guest
switch
always has to finish
No, that's
the
not
penalty
happening.
drink.
That is not
That's the
happening.
rules.
Not true.
That stuff
Gotta do
is
it.
Can I try the hot
horrible.
sauce?
Gotta do it.
Yeah.
The hot
Guys,
sauce is
Bring it
delicious.
in. Changing the retirement plan industry.
One
One
more.
beer.
Oh God.
We're Smirnoff.
One beer at a time.
Cheers.
Thanks for hanging
Cheers.
out.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Danielle.
it. Wealth at Work. Thanks for having us here. Nashville 2021. Peace out.
Peace.